What's up, guys? We're back again with some more Piers Morgan versus Zuby on Gen Z's mental health crisis. So yeah, guys, mental health is the biggest thing in the world now. Apparently 25% of people in the world take antidepressant medication, which is an insane number, guys. You know, a lot of people walk around with these medications on, so it's insane. Zuby was on before to talk about mental health. I didn't watch the first episode, but this one should be even better, guys. It's got a lot more views and stuff. So yeah, let me know what you all think, guys. We're trying to teach mental resilience and masculine excellence over here on this channel. So yeah, hopefully we help a few people with this reaction. And let's get it.
Piers Morgan Uncensored. At no point in human history have we been more self-aware about mental health and is stressed as a pandemic as a multi-billion-dollar market for the vaccines. You might start your day by swallowing a Prozac, for unpacking your trauma with a therapist, popping a diazepam for your workplace anxiety and winding down.
I don't even know what Prozac, diazepam, what is he talking? I don't even know what these words are, man.
A meditation or wellness app in a desperate hope of getting some sleep. If you've got it, there's a product for it. We've never been more medicated, more therapized, or more legitimized for confronting our feelings, and many would say quite right too. But every study is now telling us that we've also never apparently been more depressed or riddled with anxiety.
I could have told you that.
Something is broken here, and the answer can't be that it's all in our minds. A new study published today said that Gen Z employees in Britain miss an average of one workday every single week due to mental health, costing the nation a rather stressful $138 billion pounds a year. Ooh. And to be clear from the outset, mental illness is a deadly serious thing. Like every serious illness, it needs serious treatment. I would never question people who are clinically depressed or genuinely suicidal. But I do think it's time to draw a line between mental illness and mental health. Matt Walsh, who's been on the show many times, has stirred an emotive debate about this in recent days when he tweeted that depression is one of the basic side effects of being conscious. He later said that labeling negative emotions and behaviors as diseases is exactly the problem, precisely what the psychiatric field has done.
Yeah, so there's a difference between mental health and mental illness and mental health. So mental illness is like a lot of diseases. Mental health is like not drinking too much, okay? It's getting enough sleep, exercising a lot, hitting the gym, guys, you know, having good relationships with the other opposite sex, let's say, having good mental health clarity, guys. So we're trying to build mental resilience, and you do that by doing these things. If you're taking drugs, cocaine, all these crazy drugs at the weekend, with drinking, with you're not sleeping, with you're having bad relationships with people, you're going to have horrendous mental health, guys. If you're overweight, you're going to have horrendous mental health. That's just simply how it is, guys.
There's a point. The global therapy industry is worth $150 billion, and it's growing at a rate of knots. Young people in particular are relentlessly bombarded by content which gives them every reason to feel uncomfortable and anxious, and they're actively encouraged to then vaunt their suffering. Is that part of the problem? And Britain used to celebrate the so-called stiff upper lip. I guess that boils down to being resilient in the face of adversity. If times are tough, well, we were told to soldier on, keep pounding, find a way through. It's become more fashionable, and again, many people think this is the right way to go, to be perhaps more in touch with your trauma, to get help for it, to talk about it publicly.
Yeah, you shouldn't be afraid to talk about it, guys. Like, people are like kind of like embarrassed to talk about mental health problems and things like that. Don't be embarrassed, guys. Don't be embarrassed, okay?
Criticism, though, has now become recategorized as shaming. Disagreement becomes very quickly described as hate. All confrontation is categorized as violence. Is that right? It should be no surprise that there's been a bit of a cultural fight back. Hugely influential characters like Andrew Tate, for good or bad, have encouraged their millions of followers to see depression as a man-made concept, which ironically is unbefitting of men.
Well, I agree with Tate in the fact that I don't agree with burnout. I don't label myself as burnout, depressed, anxiety. I've never had any of those things, and I never will in my whole entire life, because I decide how I feel, guys, and I don't want to put labels on myself for these things. Do they exist and stuff? Probably, but I don't want to label myself or even think that they exist, because then I can't accept them for being real, and then they'll never happen to me. All right, I'm building this mental blockade against it, guys. So should everybody else.
What do you believe about depression? Do you believe depression is a real thing?
You can't become clinically depressed.
Why do you know?
Because I don't believe in it. I can't be haunted by a ghost if I don't believe in ghosts.
Well, that's like saying I'm never going to die because I don't believe in it. It's ridiculous. Well, he's completely wrong, as I said there. And there is
well, he's not wrong. Piers Morgan, you are wrong, my friend. when you label things, you know, I go to the gym with people and they say, oh, I have a strain in my back. I went to the doctor and he said this. Well, before that, you just put ice on it and then you just soldiered on and kept going. Now that you put labels on everything, now everything hurts all the time. You have this clinical diagnosis. It's BS, guys. Just keep training hard.
Ground, though. And I'm glad he called out the excesses on both sides of the argument. Just as when I questioned Tate's creative interpretation of the tears he shed in jail.
Okay, so he's saying that he's basically saying at one point you should be very nice and stuff, and then also he's saying that Tate is making fun of people that cry. He's not making fun of people that cry, guys. If you shed tears, that's fine, man. That's fine, guys. You know what I mean? But just get up the next day and keep pushing. Jesus, like it's okay to cry, man. It's fine.
Did you shed tears in your cell?
There were tears that ran down my face, but I did not cry.
I mean, that's crying.
I would disagree.
Yeah. Crying is an emotional state, like like you're going crazy and emotional. That's only happened to me like maybe a couple of times in my lifetime, guys. Maybe once. You know, because you're not supposed to be irrational, like like breaking down all the time. You can cry and be like, yeah, all right, man, I'm gonna get on with it. Let's keep going. You know what I mean? Like crying is like like freaking out, right?
You were crying, Andrew Tate. Maybe you're a little bit depressed as you sat in your prison cell. Nothing wrong with that. Just confront your feelings.
Okay, so now Piers Morgan is a SOB, guys. He's trying to now one up people for being depressed. Like, so is it he's with people that are depressed, or is he not against them? You know, he's basically trying to give him a taste of his own medicine, but that's not what he's doing, guys. It looks really bad.
Somewhere in his bombast, Tate maybe has a point. Podcaster Zuby struck a chord with me this week, having just returned to the UK from New York, when he posted, if you absolutely believe you will get jet lag, and that's inevitable, you will get jet lag. I don't get jet lag. But as someone who just flew back from New York and has jet lag, maybe I should think harder about not having jet lag. You might be right. We do talk ourselves into a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what Tate is talking about. Quit hating people. Don't hate the messenger, hate the message. You know what I mean? Like, and he's not hating the message, so you shouldn't hate the messenger. Don't believe these. If you guys don't believe all this stuff, I have this, I have ADD and ADHD. Bro, it's BS. Just get on with your shit, man. I've never gotten any of this stuff. It's BS, guys. You have a lot of energy. You're full of beans. You know, in Ireland, if you have ADHD, you're full of beans, guys. That's it.
And we maybe have lost sight of the idea that everyday stresses and strains are as much about our ability and will to manage them as they are about whatever is getting us down. Maybe we've forgotten how to keep calm and carry on. Maybe we should stop thinking that that's a bad thing to be frowned upon. There are a lot of people making a lot of money by telling us we're not okay. Well, joining me to discuss this is my pack, Talk TV contributor Esther Cracker.
Oh, I love this lady.
This is Daily Mirror, Kevin Maguire, political journalist Ava Santina, and we're joined from across the pond by the podcast host I mentioned earlier, Zuby. Zuby, let me start with you, because I liked your comment about jet lag. It hasn't worked for me, but I like the inspiration that you gave me to try and make it work, and I'm working on my I don't have jet lag skills.
Exactly. It's all this motivation. Like David Goggins says, the body will never give up. Then I went for a 20-mile run. You know, I couldn't run like 200 meters, and then I ran 27 miles in a day or something. So, like, you can, like, mentally tell yourself to do stuff, guys. So.
And on the wider point, it's a minefield, this whole area of mental health. There's no doubt to me, I've got 3 sons in their 20s, and I know lots of their friendship groups. There are a lot of young people suffering from genuine anxiety. I wouldn't categorize it as clinical depression. It may be in some cases, but just general levels of anxiety that I don't think existed when I was that age. A lot of it may be phone driven, you know, being subjected to endless terrible imagery, which we never used to have to be exposed to when we were young. I'm not sure what it is, but when you look at this whole situation, what do you think?
Yeah, Piers, I think it's one of those situations where multiple things are true at once, and people often go to extremes when it's not necessary. It can absolutely be true that there are people who suffer genuine serious traumas which require things like therapy, and that there are people who have real mental illnesses or severe mental health issues where medication temporarily or even on a perhaps longer term may help. And that can be true. It can also be true that many things are being overdiagnosed, and that the human condition itself has been pathologized in various ways, that there are all sorts of influences out there which are not necessarily serving people's best interests, because they do make money, billions of dollars and pounds off of certain medications. You said the therapy business itself is worth, I think you said $150 billion per year. And so there are very misaligned incentives here. But I do think that one thing that happens with a lot of these conversations is people are very willing to talk about the symptoms, but as a society, we don't often go deep on what some of the causes are.
Yes.
We'll talk about mental health, we'll talk about depression and anxiety, but there won't be a lot of talk about the family situation and the households that people are
Your parents getting divorced. I had a friend, and I remember asking him, your parents getting divorced, and then a few months down the road, he just completely backstabbed me, the biggest a-hole in the world. So I understand that his parents getting divorced, him being in a really bad place in his life, you know, whatever, not happy with his job, whatever, is going to affect his life. Because I understand, I'm very self-reflective. So I know that him putting his hurt on other people. Hurt people hurt people. You never heard that before? So they put their hurt on top of you guys. That's literally what it is like. So, you know what I mean? You got to deal with it now.
growing up in, their friend social networks, not online social networks, but their real social network.
Yep.
Are they part of a church? Are they part of strong communities? What are their beliefs? What's their physical health status? Physical and spiritual health are connected to mental health.
100%. Spiritual health. I talk about that a lot, guys. Spiritual health. What do I mean by that? Not effing people over, not in business, getting away with something illegal, maybe legal, like let's say what he did with the industry with the women industry, where he was using women and then throwing them away, and then also he was using the guys for their money and making them fall in love, this fake love, and then getting loads of money from them. That's not illegal, but it's very unethical, guys, you see? So you can do stuff that's not illegal, but if it's very unethical, your soul, your spirit, the universe will know this guy isn't being right to other people. It knows, guys, trust me. It comes back to bite you, bro.
With many other issues, we talk about everything at the symptom level and try to find a pill or a potion or therapy that is going to work for everybody. But I think in many cases, we're not really getting to what the root of the issue is. You touched on one other thing, which is the rise of use of smartphones and social media. That's absolutely having an impact on people's mental well-being, being bombarded by all these images and opinions and just pure amount of information every day. This is something very new that our ancestors didn't have to deal with. So I'm not surprised that there are more and more young people every year who are reporting that they're having anxiety, depression, or whatever else it may be.
Yeah, Ava, it is a minefield just to even talk about this. You know, I could almost feel us all. You know, you're treading on eggshells with this. Not to say the wrong thing, not to be insensitive, but also to recognise this survey that's come out. It's pretty shocking.
Well, the thing is, guys, you know, I live in Ireland, okay? Everybody's on drugs. Now, I don't mind if you're maybe party once in a while, but this kind of constant use of drugs, weed, you know, Coca-Cola, let's say, you know, I don't want to get banned on YouTube, like Coca-Cola, you know, cola, let's say, all this stuff, guys, it's all, people take the craziest stuff. Then they're like, oh, I feel sad, you know, they don't work out, they get bad sleep, they have bad relationships. It's like, you're gonna feel bad. You have to solve the issue first, and then maybe we can start giving pills to the symptoms, you know, understand?
You know, Gen Z kids are missing a day, a week at work, and the on cost of all that. What do you think is going on here?
Well, I agree with the premise there of your guest, Zuby, because you need to be talking about, like, what are the causes of this? If you look at Gen Z at the moment, most of Gen Z are spending up to 60% of their pay packet on rent. They're poor and they're not having a nice time at home. And I think that really drives into anxiety, and also, as you talked about, their phone dependency. But yeah, I mean, look, there is a conversation we need to be having about self-diagnosis that is going on, particularly on TikTok.
Poor argument. I do understand we're not in the best of economic circumstances, but, you know, like I
said,
there
is less poverty now in this country than there's ever been.
Exactly, and I grew up in
relative. You mean absolutely?
Yeah, but the thing is, I grew up in Ghana.
The population that we categorise as poor.
But the thing is,
it's relative.
I grew up in Ghana, and I've seen triple the amount of depressed people in this country than there. So I don't.
That's true, guys. You ever see, like, in Africa, like, I watched a documentary before. It was in I think it was in like Mali or like one of these places. I love Africa, North Africa, Libya. I love these places. Morocco, beautiful countries, but a lot of these places are desperately poor. Now, obviously not like, you know, a lot of the countries like South Africa and these other countries are very rich, but these places are so poor, man. And you always see the guys and they're laughing, dancing, having the best time ever, because you gotta learn how to sometimes dance in the rain, okay, rather than crying in the snow all the time. You know, you gotta dance in the rain, you know what I mean? And if you learn how to deal with the hard times, you know, you're dancing in the rain when it's raining. When the sun comes out, like in Ireland, it rains like 200 days a year. When the sun comes out, I'm like 3 times as happy as the regular guy that lives in, Morocco that has the best sun. You understand, guys? So you got to learn how to kind of deal with the issues a little bit. These places are very happy, guys. So when I see depression in Ireland, one of the richest countries in the world, I'm like, what do you have to be depressed about? Your parents are rich as hell. You have the best life ever. You have your own place. You have the best job ever. I'm like, what are you depressed about? Like, when you grow up with nothing, guys, you really start to look at life a lot different, man. A lot different. That's how I look at life. Way different than everybody in Ireland. Even though I'm from here. So.
I don't think necessarily material deprivation.
I know lots of well-off people who are extremely depressed
Yep.
and very riddled with anxiety.
Let's just keep it 100, guys. It's most people that are very well off that are very depressed. Like, very rare, seldom do I come across a guy who's just on the make, on the come up talk that I talk to in the street, who's kind of a, let's say, more conservative valued guy that maybe they're working hard. They don't really ever seem to be super depressed, or not maybe they don't speak about it that much, but it's always very like well off. It's wild because you don't respect it, guys. I go back to Czechoslovakia every year. I go to these countries that aren't as rich as Ireland, and I'm like, wow. I come home, I'm like kissing the ground because I know how shit it can be. I'm not saying those countries are shit, but I'm saying the level of economy and everything, guys, it's like 20 years in the past.
Sure that money, or whether you're poor or rich, I'm not sure that's really what the core here. I actually think the dopamine impact of phones, bringing so much stuff into their heads all day in a way we never ever had to experience when we were young. When I was young, you didn't have any phones. There was no internet. Now, if there's a war somewhere, they're seeing kids' heads being blown off in real time all day long.
But
that's true.
It has to have a bad effect.
But there was also suffering in silence. Like after the First and Second World War, people came back. They were absolutely traumatised, and it wasn't recognised, and their lives were blighted as a result. Now, I love Zuby's positive view of overcoming jet lag, but it exists. Mental illness exists, but you have a scale where there will be people clinically depressed, and you'll have other people who feel down for whatever reason. They're in a completely different category. And if we're medicating them,
is there
I think
a danger
that's a
that
big
if you
mistake.
talk too much about these things, you encourage people, as with everything in life?
100%. You see, this is what people don't want to talk about. When you say it exists, I'm bad. Every day you think in your head, I'm depressed, I'm this. You are going to be like that, guys. Whatever you think of, it's going to happen. I want to have 1 million views per views on these videos. It's going to happen, guys. I remember I wasn't even getting money for my videos. Now I'm getting paid. So you're constantly thinking, how can I be better? How can I do this? I'm constantly in a mindset of business, money, bodybuilding, this. You're constantly thinking of a positive aspect. If you keep thinking negatively, it's going to happen, guys. Because I've been there before in that negative mindset. Oh, my God. It just feeds into it. You feed into whatever is good and bad.
If there's too much conversation, right, and it's pretty well been wall to wall 24/7 now for a few years, I see no evidence necessarily that it's working in reducing the number of people saying they're feeling bad.
That's right.
I mean,
it's the reverse of not talking about it, denying it,
Yes.
and then people hurt, in
We've-
real
the
pain.
problem is
you
we've
can
medicalised
talk.
it.
You can talk yourself into it. There's no
We've
question. I've known people who've done
we've
that.
medicalized real life. That's the problem. Someone who has lost a spouse, for instance, of course will feel sad and depressed. But to say that they have depression and has to take a pill, that's a problem because you're not treating it the way that it should be treated. Real life happens, sad things happen, and we have to have a way to deal with it. Young people also lack purpose, right? If they're seeing all these people getting rich and having Bugattis online, they're thinking, how am I supposed to have that? What is my purpose in life?
Bro, I love this lady on the left, because I said it. I literally love this lady. I can't remember her name again, but I don't know any of their names except for Piers. But literally, she's a legend, guys. She's such sense, like talking about when people see Bugattis and all this stuff. You have Lamborghinis. Like, why don't I have that? I live with 5 other guys in a house. I live at home with mama. You're thinking, you're comparing yourself to everybody else, guys. And that will come down the line. That will come down the line. Just you gotta work hard and be patient. That will happen eventually if you have a purpose. But if you don't have a purpose, because you're just going to your dead end job, quote unquote, every single day, and you have no other outlet, you're gonna kill yourself. Like straight up, guys. Like nobody I know that doesn't have an outlet, they all hate their life. It's straight up, guys. If you don't have a purpose, you're screwed, man. Straight up.
Fear of missing out. The envy factor. I mean, bringing Zuby back in here. I think all these things come into play. The difference, like I said, between when I was young and young people now is their ability to have all this staring at them all day long. When I was young, the most exciting thing you had in front of you was a conker fight, and you'd be studying conkers outside in fresh air. We didn't have any phones. There was no internet. There was nothing like that. You weren't really aware of all the bad stuff going on unless you watched the one TV news bulletin. Now kids are not only aware of it, they're seeing it in real time.
Yeah, there are a lot of different factors. I mean, social media and smartphones absolutely play some role in here. I'd say another thing that has massively changed over the decades as well is just the situations that people are growing up in, their environment, how many different communities that they're plugged into, and how strong are those communities. We know that there's an epidemic of loneliness that we talk about. We talk about the epidemic of suicide, particularly male suicide. We're talking about all of this mental health things, and it's like all of the things that help to keep individuals and societies sane and stable, from family to faith to community to you know, the sense of meaning and purpose that someone else brought up earlier. All of these things have also been eroded over the past, let's say, 50 or 60 years. So when it comes to these situations, I mean, why are people so desperately seeking therapists? I think in many cases, sure, there might be people who really genuinely need a professional therapist, but I think there are also people who just need someone to talk to, and they don't really...
That's very true, guys. I've never felt loneliness. I had brothers around, stuff like that, friends, but if you're a guy that's maybe not too social, maybe have a bit of autism or something like that, you're going to find it very hard to socialize with people, and that will be a big aspect of your life. So maybe you need a therapist, maybe you need somebody to talk to, confide in. But, you know, a lot of the time it's just like, Jesus, like, you know what I mean? Just go hang out with people, you know what I mean?
They feel like they have friends or they have parents or family members that they can confide in and talk about these day-to-day issues, and then it builds up and it gets to a stage where they feel like the only thing that they can do is go to a therapist or take medication or perhaps even do something that's far more drastic.
I mean, in the United States, for example, I read recently that 80% of the world's painkillers are sold in the United States.
It's crazy.
80%. I mean, we think we're over-medicated here. My God, I mean, in the US, it's really out of control.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the USA has, I believe, 4% of the world's population, and then, as you said, they're taking 80% plus of the pain medication.
I mean, that is some statistics, guys. They have about 5% of the world's population. Actually, I think I read that. 5%. Literally 80%, and they use the most antidepressants. It's like 50%. They have the most of everything. It's unbelievable.
Things like opioids, and
these
things are causing massive crises in the USA. Every year, over 100,000 people in the USA, American citizens, are dying of drug overdoses. That's 100,000 deaths. So imagine how many other people are abusing those substances. And these are genuinely scary numbers. 100,000 people dying per year of something that is completely avoidable. I think that should be much bigger news. But as I said, I don't know every single solution. But I think for the diagnosis, we have to go down the tree a little bit and not just hack at the branches and the twigs, but we need to get to the root of the problem. And it's not going to be one single thing. It's going to be multiple things. And I think several of them have been mentioned.
Dude, I love that. That was one of the best episodes I've ever watched from Piers Morgan. Unbelievable. Every time I watch a Piers Morgan episode, it's unbelievable. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. You know, I'm going to do a reaction to all the comments someday about this stuff, but it is unbelievable to see that Zuby, you know, oh man, Zuby, I still find it hilarious that Zuby was the woman's lift. Okay, Zuby is dope, guys. I never heard of him before. I've heard of his name before, but I'm going to react to some more of his stuff. Great speaker. Everybody there spoke well. Do we need more therapy? Do we need more of these things? Are we buying into it more? Are we feeding into the whole depression aspect more? Are we feeding into the more anxiety more? Definitely some people have these problems and they need to be addressed accordingly, but definitely, guys, people feed into it a lot and it doesn't play out as well as they would hope. So let me know what you all think, guys. I love you all, man. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.